Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, a lot, and I mean a lot to talk about today. In fact, there are several stories I'd love to get to. But one of them, again, this is a culture story that is getting political. It is a national story. It is getting more and more attention from parents, lawmakers, concerned people everywhere. And that is now the growing movement to ban cell phones in public schools. As things stand right now, as you know, we have a serious crisis in education. There's no question. Math scores are down. Literacy scores are down. English proficiency is down. And so many teachers, in fact, a majority of teachers, if you look at the polls, say it's not a silver bullet, but they say a big reason for this massive decrease in academic performance, why students are not performing as well, why they're not learning as much, is because they are constantly distracted at school, in the classroom, due to those devices, those cell phones. And they start them in elementary school, middle and high school. They are everywhere. And so teachers now are saying, get rid of these cell phones, ban them or at least restrict them. And what you will see is a much better classroom environment. According to many, many teachers, they say that if you ban these devices or limit them, say, to lunchtime or recess, in other words, not in the classroom, keep them out of the class, you will see grades go up, academic performance go up, that the kids in school will not be distracted, but instead of staring at that device all the time, they will focus on their work, on the teacher, on the lesson. And that not only will this end distraction and improve the quality of learning, they also say, where they've banned these cell phones, that actually students are much better socialized. That, in fact, they're talking to each other, talking to the teacher. You hear laughter. You hear communication. And so, according to them, getting rid of cell phones is a giant step forward if we want to reverse this education decline and confront this crisis now that is affecting our entire country. Now, just because many people are going to ask me these kind of questions, so let me just set it up right away. Currently, and I'm going by Education Week, which is the official, publication that covers not just universities, but obviously high school, middle school, secondary education, higher education. According to Education Week, and that's considered the gold standard in terms of education facts and data, 31 states and the District of Columbia currently now have some kind of a ban on cell phones right now on the books. Some of these bans are what they call bell-to-bell cell phone ban use. In other words, the moment the kids come into the school or the moment they enter the classroom, their cell phones are taken away from them. Usually they're put in some kind of a pouch or some kind of a basket, and they are not able to access those phones throughout the entire day. And that includes recess. That includes in between classes. That includes lunchtime. They only get it back at the end of the school day as they are leaving the school. Some states, Kentucky, Tennessee, restrict cell phone use, meaning they're not allowed, they're banned in the classroom. If you have them, you're going to get punished. And the punishments can be quite severe, up to and including detention and even suspension. But you are allowed to use them during lunchtime and during recess. So it depends on which state. It even depends in many cases on which school district. As for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so far, now school districts have them. For example, both of my children, the school district that they're in, the school, it bans their use of cell phones. To give you an example for both of them, and one is in elementary and the other one is in middle school. Although Ashton now will be going to high school this September. But in the schools that they attend, the moment they walk in, the cell phone is put in a pouch. They are not able to access the phone at all throughout the entire school day. They only get their phone back when they leave the school. Okay, when the school day is over. But that's a school district decision. As far as the state imposing a mandate, so far there is no law on the books. However, the state Senate has now passed a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in schools. Governor Maura Healey supports a ban on cell phone use, bell to bell. It looks like the State House is going to pick up that bill. It looks like they have the votes to pass it. And so maybe not for this year, but they say definitely for the next academic year. Massachusetts will be then the 32nd state that will implement a massive sweeping ban on cell phones in schools. Now, just so that you know politically how this lays out, many Republicans favor a cell phone ban. Many Democrats favor a cell phone ban. It is one of the few issues where you see a lot of convergence and agreement among Democrats and Republicans. Here in Massachusetts, as an example, Maura Healey supports a bell-to-bell cell phone ban in schools. So does Attorney General Andrea Campbell. So do practically every single Democrats up on Beacon Hill. There are a few Republicans that are opposing it, but for the most part, this is largely bipartisan here in Massachusetts and has been in other states, including red states. Now, there's actually a division even now in my own home, in Casa Kuhner, in the Kuhner family household. Grace is all, my wonderful wife, my better half, is all for a ban on cell phone use. She believes it is getting our children addicted to cell phones, to social media, to this kind of technology that she says is poisoning the minds of our kids, that they can't turn this device off. It's bad enough they're always on it when they're at home. Now they're also constantly and frequently on it or looking at it when they're in the classroom. She says it is a huge distraction from learning. It stunts the children's development or the students' development, and that it is clearly a key factor in why academic performance and grades are bad and why performance in schools are horrible, and that teachers complain to Grace all the time that these devices make it almost impossible for them to effectively do their job. Grace also accepts the argument that this is really stunting basic social development, that instead of playing with each other, instead of talking with each other, instead of communicating with each other, instead of doing things together, they're just staring at that screen. They're looking at movies, they're looking at videos, they are playing games on that thing, that all they do is stare at that screen, and that this is now seriously damaging the ability of students to even have the most basic friendships, the most basic social interactions. So Grace is all for a bell-to-bell cell phone ban, a ban on cell phones in schools. Now, these are public schools. You can't mandate what's going on in private schools. Most private schools, though, do have a cell phone ban. Now, this is my position. I disagree with Grace, and I'll tell you why. And, of course, you may disagree with me. My own family disagrees with me. I'm against a ban on cell phone use in schools. Not at the district level. I don't like it at the state level. I don't like a one-size-fits-all mandate whereby politicians in state capitals and the governor put a blanket policy on every single school and every single school district. I believe decisions like this should be made at the local level by the schools themselves according to the needs of their students. Some students in some areas may need cell phones to help with instruction, to help with learning. Others may decide, no, we don't need phones at all. But let me tell you my biggest concern. They can't keep our schools safe. How many school shootings have we had? Over and over and over again. And how many times have cell phones by the students themselves as they're under lockdown been instrumental in warning the police, in calling for help, or in this case, talking to family members? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Whoa. Boy, everybody wants to weigh in on this one. Okay. So a lot of you, again, like much of the country on this, split. People are divided. People feel strongly on both sides of the issue, which I perfectly understand and respect. This is from Allen, South Carolina. On Messenger. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning to you, Alan. Jeff, cell phones and even smartwatches, for example, the Apple Watch, have been banned bell to bell here in South Carolina since January 2024. I think the performance argument is BS. I think it's more an argument of the haves and the have-nots. Interesting. Stop infringing on parental rights. I'm with you, Alan. Look, I didn't look at that angle. That's an interesting angle. So Alan saying that, no, it's not about boosting academic performance or getting better grades or having them focus more on work and, work and learning in the classroom. It's about they don't like the fact that some kids have very nice cell phones and others either don't have cell phones or much cheaper cell phones, or someone's got a very expensive Apple Watch and someone else has got a flip phone, one of these, more low end flip phones that are quite inexpensive. So that this has to do more with not wanting to hurt the feelings of students whose parents either don't want to or can't or don't have the means to spend on a nice fancy cell phone or Apple Watch. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Let me just add one more point, and then I want to go right to the phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. And this is not original to me. I don't want to claim this is an original point because it's not. Robbie Struck, I believe, is the person that I read on social media who made this point, and I agree. I think a major reason why this sudden push, this momentum, this drive to impose these cell phone bans in schools in over 30 states now and the District of Columbia, and now they're going to push it hard here in Massachusetts, is because, say what you want about these phones, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of my son or my daughter, face in front of the phone all day. I don't want my children hooked to these devices. Don't get me wrong. But one of the things that these cell phones have done, and there's no question about it, is that students now, especially in high school, but even middle school, now film many of their woke teachers who are trying to indoctrinate them in Marxist ideology and anti-Americanism, or who are going out there preaching some of the craziest things imaginable, or use their position in the classroom as a political soapbox to brainwash the kids. So this woke rot, this DEI, critical race theory, that is now being demolished over the last couple of years, a lot of it is because these students are like, what? They're preaching communism in the classroom? What? They're trying to push transgenderism in the classroom. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, this is supposed to be a math class, not a Democratic political rally. And they're filming their teachers or videotaping their teachers because of their cell phones and then posting it on social media. And that's what's gotten so many of these left-wing teachers and educators in hot water. And parents' eyes have been opened. Now, for me, it's a fundamental issue of localism and of parental rights. If I want my child to have a cell phone, primarily for safety, security reasons. Yeah, I'm not saying my child's got to yak on the phone. I don't want my child yakking on the phone or watching videos or watching movies or playing video games during classroom time. Please don't get me wrong. But you're refusing to protect the schools. You're insisting that we're going to have gun-free zones in schools. And I don't need to tell everybody how many school shootings there have been over and over again. Now you're telling me we're going to have a cell phone-free zone in schools? So God forbid if there's a mass shooting, say at the school that my daughter goes to or my son goes to, they can't call the police to warn them or call their parents to tell us, Daddy, the school's under attack. I'm sorry, that's wrong. It's wrong. And so on these grounds, and honestly, look, for example, the school district voted to ban cell phones for my daughter and my son. They put them in a pouch. Now, I have a right to appeal this at the school board. In other words, the decision is made at the local level with the teachers, educators, school board, and parents. I don't want a one-size-fits-all. If there are some areas and some school districts, for whatever reason, where they say, no, we need cell phones, for example, to work as calculators, whatever it may be to help us, that should be up to the school district and to the teachers and the parents and the educators. I don't like these one-size-fits-all state mandates. I prefer to leave schools and education in the hands of parents primarily, but also in the hands of local schools, school boards, teachers, and school districts. So that's why, in general, I'm against a cell phone ban, a blanket bell-to-bell cell phone ban for every school district, all across not just this state, but in states all over the United States. Now, that's me. My wife disagrees with me. Many of you disagree with me, which is okay. So, I want to ask all of you, Kuhner Country, 617-266-6868. I want to take all of your calls on the other side. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from 781. I'm going to go to the calls, I promise, but just to show you how divided the audience is on this. It's like you guys were all at my house for dinner yesterday. You overheard my conversation with Grace. 781, Jeff, I am an 8th grade teacher. You are out of your mind! Exclamation point. Cell phones are so distracting. You have no idea what we teachers have to deal with on a daily basis. The kids are not focusing on their lesson plans. They're not focusing on learning. All they're focusing on is are those damn devices. Ban them, ban them, ban them. Okay, I hear you. 617-266-6868. So let me ask you, should cell phones be banned in schools, elementary school, middle school, high school? At a minimum, do you believe they should be restricted, say only to lunchtime or recess? But right now, you've got 31 states, the District of Columbia now enacting cell phone bans. And apparently now Massachusetts and others, they're on the way. Is this a good idea, a bad idea? How do you feel about it? And the ultimate question, are cell phones responsible for the collapse of our education system and academic performance? Many teachers say it is a big factor. Other parental rights groups say that's not true. Test scores were bad before cell phones were common or prevalent in schools. This has nothing to do with cell phones. And if I want my child to have a cell phone for an emergency reason, for whatever it may be, a family emergency or, God forbid, a school shooting or a public safety emergency, then my child should be able to have that cell phone. Agree, disagree? Should cell phones be banned in schools? Heather in Rockland, you're going to kick us off, Heather. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure, Heather.
You know, I got to tell you, this is why I love this show so much, because it really makes you think. When I initially called, when I've been on hold, I immediately was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally, like, now my mind has changed. Like, literally, just from hearing you, like, certain things you said. Like, I immediately was like, absolutely, they should be banned. Now, hearing your opinions, and then, was it your opinion or the text about, I didn't even think of this, but now I'm convinced about the cell phones and the kids being able to take pictures of the woke teachers, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. That's brilliant. And the other thing I was thinking of is maybe this is another reason why they want it banned, is because, you know, like the cell phones, let's face it, they have trackers. Do you know what I mean? And like you know, you can, and they don't want the kids, like you said, filming what the teachers are doing or teaching their kids if they shouldn't be teaching them certain things. And let me just say this too, because my initial gut reaction was absolutely not. And I don't have children, but I have 3 nephews, and my 2 youngest nephews, 17 and then 8. Like the 17-year-old, like I think like should, you know, if he has a cell phone, you know, they should, in high school, they should, like, you know, have a place where they put the cell phones during the, you know, before they go to classes. And then pick them up at the end of the day. Cause, you know, like he goes to work or whatever, you know, after school or, you know, sports and stuff like that. He may not go home. So, you know, like the kids need to be in touch with their parents after school. So I get that. Not like having them not take the phone with them to school, but there should be some place that they should put the phone. However, the 8-year-old does not need a cell phone. He's going to be in 3rd grade. I mean, really, what 8-year-old needs a cell phone in school? However, your point that you said about like the, you know, the safety and everything, I didn't even think of it in that sense too. So it's, you know, you made me think, I guess is what you said.
No, Heather, look, I hear you. Look, I'll be honest. I can really see very strong arguments for both sides. I really can. Look, this is where I'm coming at it. And again, people may agree, disagree. I'm just using Massachusetts as an example, but it's an issue across the entire country. Since when does Maura Healey care about the education of our kids? You know, since when? I could run down, you know, Andrea Campbell, the Attorney General. In other words, I'm seeing all of these big lefties and Democrats who have run the education system into the ground, who are indoctrinating our kids with some of the sickest, most perverse ideas imaginable. And all of a sudden now, you care about a proper learning environment? You now suddenly care if the kids are distracted or not distracted, or are they focusing on, you know, their work or their lessons? They don't give a damn. They look at schools as indoctrination centers. So when I'm like, no, you never care about the well-being of my child. No. So it's not that reason. And I honestly believe it's 2 things. I think they're getting caught with their pants down, pardon the pun, with these kids, especially more high school than elementary, obviously, but, you know, even middle school. these woke teachers are being filmed, they're being videotaped, and they're being caught. And the parents get to realize, because people won't believe a kid if the kid comes home and says, you know what, they were teaching communism in the classroom. Really? I don't believe. No, really, Daddy, I'm telling you, come on. But when you listen to it and they go, no, Dad, look here, I got it on, tape. I videotaped it. Here it is. It's on the phone. And you go, what? This is what they're teaching? Or this is what your teacher did in the class? That's why there's been so many scandals. And that's why, look, I think it's a major reason why they're now going to shut down the Department of Education because of this. So I think that's a key reason. I also think another reason is it makes them seem like they're doing something. But I can just tell you this, and this is very sad. And again, you can tell me if you agree or disagree, Heather, and frankly, the whole audience. My biggest concern when my children go to school, yes, I don't want them brainwashed. I don't want them indoctrinated. Yes. But honest to God, my number one concern is my child going to come home safe? Is my child going to come home alive? In other words, is there going to be a school shooting? When in terms of this, it's like playing, a bingo or whatever, spin the wheel, because it's always some school shooting somewhere, somewhere in some city, in some district, in some state. Is the number now going to be for my child? Because it's like basically a school shooting a week practically now. And I'm like, so when is my turn? When is it going to be for me, my children, God forbid? And in almost every instance, not every, but almost, it's the children in the school that end up calling either 911 or call their parents, who then call 911, that get the police there if they're going to, interdict the shooter. Now, usually some kids are already killed by then, or teachers or administrators. But it's rarely the school that actually is proactive or makes that call to 911. It's often the students. They hear shooting, they go underneath, bang, 911, and off. They're telling the police, hi, I'm at whatever, John F. Kennedy School here in whatever, I'll just make it up, in Austin, Texas. Please, there's a shooter, send help. Or mommy, daddy, there's a shooter. And the parents will come in and call 911. So I'm like, you can't protect my kids. You refuse to protect my kids because you insist on these gun-free zones. And so what? Now you're going to tell me my kid can't even have a cell phone to protect himself or herself, to call, to try to get help, God forbid, if there's a bad situation? Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you. Should cell phones be banned in public schools? I don't care if it's middle school, high school, doesn't matter. Should cell phones be banned in schools? Yes or no? Let's go right back to Heather in Rockland. Heather, I know you said you don't have children yourself, but you do have several nephews. Heather, I'm just curious. When you talk to the parents of your nephews, do they complain that their kids are basically addicted to those phones or Apple watches or whatever, these smartphones as they call them, and that it is these cell phones and it is these Apple watches, these gadgets that just are distracting them from learning, are distracting them from doing well at school, and are stunting their ability to socialize properly? Is it a problem with your nephews, or do the parents of your nephews complain to you about cell phones and cell phone use? I'm just curious.
Actually, I've never heard, in all honesty, I've never heard my sister complain about that. I mean, I know, Liam's three. He's going in third grade, and he's Mr. Social. And I mean, all my nephews have pretty good social skills for the most part, I'd say. She's never really complained about that. I just think, sometimes you see kids and it's just like, some of them don't have the greatest social skills. And I do think and that was my initial thought was, yes, ban them because I feel like it will help with the social skills. But I think I'm almost changed my mind based on what the points you brought up before. Can I just say one thing though about the texter, the text about the haves and have nots?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of nonsense. Because in life, everybody's going to have something more. Like, one kid could have a better cell phone, whatever. But that's life, even in adults. Like, for instance, yesterday I was at the gym and I saw, this girl had a really nice cell phone, better than mine. And I was like, oh, how do you like your cell phone? You know what I mean? Like, I was, asking her about her cell phone, like, and she had a better one than mine. But I'm like, that's just life. You know what I mean? Somebody's always going to have something more. You know what I mean? So the kids better get used to it while they're young. So, because, going through life, you got to run into somebody who has more than you or has something that you would like to acquire. So, I mean, you can't go by like, the kids are going to get jealous. I mean, adults get jealous, if their Joe Schmo has a better car. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think that's a stupid argument there. That one's stupid. But I think more like what you said as far as the safety, as far as like being able to, the kids, taking pictures or whatnot, or even videotaping the nonsense that goes on. Some of these teachers that are teaching them this craziness, I think is crazy. And lastly, I do think with high school, I don't think you really can necessarily. Middle school maybe too, but more high school. I think there should be like some sort of policy per se, but I don't think you can really like totally get rid of the cell phones because, like I said, my nephew now he drives. He has his truck. He kind of needs it. What if he gets in an accident or you know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. No, Heather, look, I think whether we like it or not, it's just now it's a fact of life in 2025. Cell phones are prevalent. I mean, most people now don't even have a hard line. Like a hard phone line. They just have a cell phone. That's it. That's their phone. And look, I disagree with these liberal policies. I want to roll back these liberal policies. But the fact of the matter is they're here. They're on the books. And the consequences are crime has exploded. School safety is much worse now than it was 40, 50 years ago. And school shootings are much more common now than they were 40, 50, 60 years ago. So, look, my Ava has a phone. Not a phone. She has one of these like wrist phones. So like she can't, she can only text and call. That's it. She doesn't have access to the internet or anything like that. But, she's 13 years old and we worry about her all the time. So yeah, she has one of these little wrist watches. She's had it for 2 years now. And she can call me. And in fact, she's always texting me when I start my show, giving me hearts and emojis and I love you, daddy, and stuff like that. So I always want to keep an eye on her. And by the way, it has a locator. God forbid if something should happen to her. Now, you can call me a helicopter parent, but I'm telling you that kids get abducted now all the time. So no, I'm sorry. Cell phones are just, or having your child having a phone is just part of life in 2025. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's how it is. So, I agree with you, Heather. And especially at 16, 17, 18, kids now, they do all kinds of activities. They got jobs, they're driving, something happens, they have a phone, they can call you. So it's almost become a necessity. Heather, thank you very much for that call. No, look, my position is, again, it goes back to parental rights. Now, again, you may disagree with me. I'm just giving you my point of view. If a school wants to dictate a policy, and I'm just giving you my kids as an example, then, that's up to the school. The school has the right to do that. I, as a parent, have a right to voice my objection or my complaint, and I can go to the school board or I can go to the principal or vice principal and we can make some kind of an arrangement or whatever. What I'm saying is this. the school can say, no, I don't want you on these phones during the classroom. No, absolutely not. We want you focused on learning, on the teacher, on the lesson, on your work, whatever it may be. But if they have the phone on them, now they're not supposed to use them, but if they have the phone on them, well, yeah, God forbid, if there is a school shooting or if there is some kind of a public safety emergency or whatever, if the child has a health emergency or if there's a family emergency at home, like there's all kinds of factors. I want my child to be able to make a phone call or to receive a phone call because you can't guarantee the safety of my child. I'm sorry. Like the record is clear. It's obvious. So no, I have a right as a parent to do what is best for my child. Now, my child doesn't have the right to interrupt the classroom. My child doesn't have the right to interrupt the teacher from being able to do his or her job. So, if the policy is you don't watch videos, you don't play on the cell phone, you don't use it during classroom time, then the student should be punished. My child should be punished. I completely agree with that. But this blanket mandate, every school, every classroom, bell to bell, across the across the entire state. No, absolutely not. I'm against it because I'm generally against mandates. 617-266-6868 is the number. And by the way, and I want to read a text later. It's a very good text. It's from a teacher. He said, Jeff, A, they don't really improve academically when you get rid of the cell phones. It's just not true. And B, and this is, I think, even the bigger point, Jeff, he goes, you think these kids are stupid? They get burner phones. So even they can put them in a pouch, they can put them in a basket, they can hold it for the kid all day long. They have a second or third phone. What they call a burner phone. And in fact, many of these kids take pride in how they get around school rules. So you're not really getting rid of the cell phone. So, and what you've done is you've just imposed another regulation, another mandate where you're infringing upon localism and the autonomy and authority of school districts. And to me, the bigger issue, parental authority and parental rights. It's my child. And if I believe a cell phone is necessary to keep that child safe, my child should be able to have a cell phone. Am I wrong? Gino in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Gino, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Gino.
So I work in some of the school systems up here in New Hampshire in the technology department in IT. And I'm kind of for it because I've worked in a few districts in the past couple of years. And I think in New Hampshire, at least, this mandate kind of had to happen because these schools are so infected with liberalism. And these teachers will never allow something like this to happen with the clock or like the cell phone ban. And the reason I'm for it is because these kids just waste so much time. I've seen it. I call it TikTok brain. They just stare at you brain dead because all they're doing is just on their phone all day. They just want to escape class, go on their phones, make TikTok videos, and just like not do education like at all. And in the past couple of weeks, I've been back at the school getting ready for the new school year in the technology department, and I've had kids come in talking to me, saying how they're going to try to get around the system by using two-way radios and like doing all this insane stuff to try to like defy the system. Like, guys, just do your classwork. Just focus on the work. We have classroom phones in every room, so then everyone can like you can call your parents from there. Your parents, if they need you, they call the school. They get a hold of you through the classroom phone. I'm like, that's how it was when I was a kid. It's like it's not that much is really going to change. Just do your work. Now, I don't agree that it had to be done, sadly, like through the government. Like, I don't like big government. I hate big government. But I just don't think any policy that we would see change would have went through because of how like liberalized these schools are now. But I'm curious to see what happens with academics and everything for like the next year, and we'll see what to see if it improves anything, because that's what I'm really hoping for. And if it doesn't, I do wonder if it's going to spark an outrage and maybe it'll get reversed, at least up here in New Hampshire.
Well, Gino,
no,
you literally, it's funny, almost word for word, because Grace hates TikTok, right? You mentioned TikTok, and you said they're almost like zombies, and that was like last night's conversation. I just, I'm like, Gino, were you there? Did I miss you in the kitchen? That's Grace's argument. She says, no, Jeff, you're wrong. I'm like, well, what do you mean? She goes, look, I spend more time with the kids than you do. I spend more time with their friends than you do. I'm like, well, okay. And she said exactly what you said. She goes, they are hooked on these devices. They're in school. They're not learning. They're literally not learning. They're just staring at TikTok, like you said, like zombies. And she goes, it's very scary. And it consumes so much of their day. They're not learning anything. Now, apparently, this is a study from Scientific American. So, look, it's one study, but, it's to back up Grace's point. Apparently, according to Scientific American, the average American school child, okay, elementary, middle, and high school, spends an hour and a half during the school day, not the entire day. The entire day there, it's hours and hours. But, whatever, from bell to bell, an hour and a half on their phones. An hour and a half. That's a lot. I mean, what are they in school? Like 5 hours, 6 hours at best, right? And there's lunch and there's recess. And so that's a lot. That is a lot. And that's apparently mostly in the classroom. So, Gino, there's no question there's a massive problem. So now, Gino, if you don't mind, so you're saying in New Hampshire, is there a state law mandating this, or is this just by school districts?
This is a state law because they put it into the last budget. Kelly Ayotte signed it, and it got snuck in. They were trying to do it as an individual bill, but I think it got shot down or it got held up, and it went into limbo. So it never advanced. So they did sneak it in last second, and it is interesting because when it went through, I've been hearing all the teachers freaking out about this. And one last example I wanted to give was where the cell phones were really a bad thing. Now, the kids can keep them in their bag, powered off, or just on silent, so they're always around them. So if a shooting did happen, they can't take them out.
Yeah, see, I like that.
With anyone
No, see, I like that. If they can keep it on them, then I like that, because in case of an emergency, then they can use it. So that I like already. But I'm sorry, Gino, keep going.
Yeah. The other issue was we had a ceiling leak. The ceiling collapsed and this pipe burst and all this water was flooded into the cafeteria. And what was awful about it is instead of the kids evacuating, this was a middle school, instead of the kids evacuating, they took out their phones and they were recording it, putting themselves in danger. And to me, when I heard about the cell phone ban, I'm like, that's it. This needs to go. I'm glad for this. Because, the kids, it's kind of a good thing. The kids are showing, hey, the building's dilapidating. It's falling apart. The district kind of wanted to keep that under the rubble. They didn't want the people to know about it. But at the same time, the kids are not getting out of the building. They're not getting out of harm's way. And that was a big safety issue. And with the cell phone ban, in a sense, I do feel like that might make things a bit safer in the future if something similar were to happen. But at the same time, the school should have tried to cover that up. So
interesting. Interesting.
I go both ways. Yeah, it's very interesting hearing how you guys are talking about this, because I'm all for it at this point, but I wish it was done as a trial. Hey, we're going to do this for 2 years. Let's review the results. Has test scores gone up? Has anything changed? And if stuff has gotten better and things have improved, then they're like, okay, let's look at this long term and do it. But if nothing changes and it's all about the same, then they're like, all right, well, this was a waste of time and they should have reversed it. That's how I wish it would have went through. But I guess only time will tell to see how it goes.
Gino, again, very good call. Thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, it's a push now. There's a national movement. There's tremendous momentum. As I said, Massachusetts now is going to enact most likely what they call a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in schools. 31 states already have either a full ban or restrictions. And it's going to be more now. I think it's going to be 50 states. within about a year or two. The way it's such an aggressive push. And the teachers, many of them are pushing it. The National Education Association, the unions are pushing it. You have a lot of Republicans who agree with it. Many Democrats agree with it. So I don't know. I doubt if any state will be able to hold out, but we shall see. Look, just very quickly. Look, this is also Grace's argument because I want to be fair to the other side. She says, look, Jeff, exactly to your point, Gino, that there's a desocialization that is happening that she says is very, and she's not the only one who says this, it's different. It's not, oh, in my day, this is not some middle-aged fogey. Oh, back in our day, we were so much better. No, she says, look, you don't understand. It was Gino's point. Something is, the roof is leaking. It may collapse. And instead of like, hey, alert, 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 get the hell out. Let's film it, dude. Someone's getting their brains beaten in. Nobody steps in to stop it. They're just filming it. Like, in other words, this basic A, self-preservation, B, empathy, conscience, care for other people. Everything is virtual reality. And the way Grace describes it is it's soul sucking. These devices are soul destroying. Now, to be fair, it's not just a cell phone. She's talking about iPads, computers, video games, the whole, the iPhone, like the whole thing. But she says it's just a generation reared on a screen. And there's almost no human interaction. And that's why you're just seeing this almost loss of morality, loss of just basic social understanding and even basic social interaction. Now, the teachers are making this point. They go, you don't understand. Kids used to play. Like, that's the one thing about kids. Okay, even in high school, whatever, they're hanging out together, whatever. They're on the phone. Lunchtime, they're eating and they're on the phone. Recess, they're all on the phone. So it's like, Tommy is not talking to Jenny. Jenny is not talking to Pam. Pam is not talking to Tony. It's like they live in these individual bubbles. And to push it even more, they're saying, look, they don't even know how to say hi. Like a hello, say goodbye. Never mind shaking someone's hand. Here, we're just talking about it here in my circle here at iHeart. You look at these 20-somethings now, Gen Z, whatever they're called. They're being told now, Gen Zers are being told, when you go in for a job interview, shake the person's hand, the one that, the employer's hand or the manager's hand. Like, acknowledge them, make eye contact, shake their hand. They don't do that. They don't even know how to do that. They look down, and you're lucky if you get a hello. Like, literally, like a grunt. Hi. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. And they're like, you don't understand. You're making a horrible impression. Like, what are you, an anti-human? So, again, now, a ban is not going to solve all of this, but this is Grace's point. She's saying, no, get those devices out of the classroom, get the kids talking again, get them socializing again, get them focused on learning and academics again, get them focused on teachers, and they'll start becoming normal again. So, anyway, that's the argument. Okay, 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Lynn in Pepperell. Thanks for holding, Lynn, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Lynn.
I am a high school teacher.
Okay.
And I actually was a career changer, but I started teaching right before the smartphones became a thing. So I have seen the difference. And I see what your point is about, the wokeism, et cetera, et cetera. But
Lynn, do me a favor, please. This is the perfect call. Mike, well, I'm going to go to Lynn and Pepperell right away, but Mike was saying when he was in school, in high school, Mike, I think, what was that, like 8 years ago or something? Anyway, 9 years ago? All right, so 9 years ago when Mike was in high school, he said, no, policy at my school was they catch you with a cell phone, they take the cell phone away, and that's it. Yeah, Mike says then iPads. That was the big issue at the time. Yeah, books on your iPad, and so Mike would use his iPad and of course play games. Which, by the way, that happened to Ashton. They've got them all on. Now they're all on Chromebooks. And so what does Ashton do? The teacher complained. She called. She said, your son, we're trying to do lessons on the Chromebook. I go, okay. Well, we caught Ashton. He's playing video games. I'm like, are you serious? She goes, yeah. I go, I'll take care of it. And of course, I asked him, and at first he denied it. And I said, don't lie to me, son. You lie to me, it gets much worse for you. So if I were you, I would just tell the truth. And of course, then he confessed on the spot. Yeah, Dad, my friends are playing video games, so I thought it was okay if I played video games. Anyway, long story short, I said, Ashton, I never want to hear that you played a video game in the classroom or a complaint from your teacher ever again, because you're going to be in big trouble, son. And so far, it's been a while now, a couple of years, but he's been very good. So again, to me, a lot of it comes down to parents, parental discipline, parental authority. You've got to draw the line with your own kids. They should not be playing video games in school, period, full stop. Okay, let's go right back to Lynn in Pepperell. She's a perfect caller for this. She's a high school teacher. She started teaching just before the smartphones were introduced. So she, can have a frame of reference. How students were before the smartphone era, and of course how students now are where smartphones are prevalent. Lynn, what is the fundamental difference that you've noticed between the students you had that didn't have a smartphone and now, of course, almost every student has a smartphone? Please, Lynn, pick up where you left off.
Well, I think, Jeff, that the biggest difference that we noticed is the amount of mental health issues. I mean, your wife is 100% correct. The kids are not just zombies. They are so distracted. They'll have their head down in class, just on their phone. And I get what you're trying to say about, okay, if there's a school shooter, okay. But remember, most of these have their phones in like a pocket protector, like a shoe holder thing a pouch. And we're creating, though, with doing that, like a snitch culture. They're also videotaping, they're, recording teachers, yes, okay. But they're also recording to bully. They're recording kids doing things and then sharing it with tons of other kids to bully. They're recording fights and using that to bully kids. These kids are watching porn in school.
Wow.
This is a massive, massive issue that so many parents don't get because they don't know what their kids are doing and what their kids are capable of watching on these phones.
Lynn, Lynn, please, I'll give you all the time in the world. I promise I won't cut you off. But I got to ask you, I mean, they're actually watching, they're watching pornography in school? Really? Like actual porn?
Yes, and there are studies saying that this is happening at the age of 8. We have a major, major societal problem with kids watching porn. And I had students tell me that kids will watch porn right when they get up. They're watching it during the day at school and at night before they go to bed. Now,
Lynn, you mentioned something earlier about it's leading to a mental health crisis. Now, why is that? Is it because you're just spending so many hours on this damn device? Loneliness, it causes, you say, what, depression? In other words, what's driving, if my kid is watching TikTok, he's not, but just play with me here. If my kid is watching TikTok 3, 4, 5 hours a day, how does that lead to a mental health issue?
Well, what we're seeing, Jeff, is that it's mostly, number one, in girls. So you're not quite there yet. Your son's entering high school. Your daughter will be there soon. So it's mostly girls. And what they're doing is they're watching all this social media. They're on TikTok, where it's all fake. They're on Instagram. Everyone's fake. Everyone's filtered. They're comparing themselves to other people. Sometimes, do you ever see something on social media and it kind of makes you feel bad, but you can't quite explain it? You don't think about it, but it kind of changes your mood for the day. And then when you finally realize it, you're like, oh, why am I, doing this? That's how kids are. They'll see something, they'll feel bad about themselves, and it affects their mental health. Or they'll see other kids that have gotten together, they've been left out. It's just a major problem. And I don't agree with Maura Healey on hardly anything, and I'm not sure if I agree from bell to bell, but I do agree with cell phones should not be in the classroom. The kids cannot handle it. They cannot, kind of tell themselves, okay, it's time to put it away. It's time to break free. They can't.
Lynn, my daughter, Ava, and we've got a minute left. She's going to turn 13 in about 3 weeks. She really wants her own cell phone for her birthday. In your expert opinion, should Grace and I buy it for her, or should we wait another year?
Oh, yeah, I'm so torn about this because she's going to want it and all her friends have one. So she's going to be sort of, I hate to say this, an outcast if she doesn't. I hate to say that. It's sickening, but it's true. So what I would recommend is if you get one, you need to put parental controls on it. You need to have strict rules. So many of the parents nowadays have zero rules. They don't know what their kids are accessing. They don't have time limitations on, how long they're on it. Late at night, these kids aren't getting sleep. They're on their phones till 1, 2 in the morning and getting up for school the next day.
Incredible. Lynn, dynamite call. I'm telling you, best audience in the business. I know. Jeff, you're like a broken record. It's true. Lynn, you sound like a phenomenal teacher. 617-266-6868 is the number. I got to tell you, I'm going to go to Carol in Winchester in 10 seconds. But it's just hilarious listening to Mike talk about his high school days 9-10 years ago. And how they moved mountains to make sure they were playing video games on their new iPads that the schools were giving out. How they got around absolutely. Mike, you guys got around everything, right? They tried every trick in the book, but you and your friends, you managed to outsmart them at every turn. Mike? Mike? Oh yeah, sorry. They tried to, prevent you guys from playing video games on all these iPads they were giving you. Those are, to learn math and geography and science, but you guys were just you were determined to play video games. Your friends were, and everything they threw at you, you guys managed to outmaneuver them. They would ban the Wi-Fi. So they would ban games on the Wi-Fi, put restrictions, and then what did you guys do to get around that? VPN. But, I don't know what else to tell you. You're fighting a losing war here. Carol in Winchester. Thanks for holding, Carol, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you for your platform. It's wonderful.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Where do you stand on this, Carol?
Oh, I would say no, because I've been in the schools over 20 years, and with the bottle flipping, the spin thing, it takes a while for the district to figure it out, but it doesn't work. I would say to keep the backpacks on a hook in the classroom because they do get paranoid if the phones aren't with them, but the phones have to be shut off. No ifs, ands, or buts, and there should be an emergency phone. The teacher should have their phone at full 100% when they come into school to charge. And most of the time it's the parents calling, believe it or not. It's the parents calling the kids.
During the school day?
Oh, yes.
I mean, outside of a family emergency, right? I don't know. Forgive me. Daddy got into a car accident. I'm not trying to be morbid, but, grandma got a heart attack or whatever. It's a family emergency. Outside of that, what are they calling their children for?
I'll meet you after school or meet me here. Or, because,
during the school day?
No news is good news, I still feel, and it would come out like you'd have to have an emergency number if, God forbid, there was a shooting. Every parent gets the call. They have that anyways when they have a snow day. Everybody gets called. One press of the superintendent. That's it. Every parent gets called.
So, Carol, sorry, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be fixated on this, but you mean, so basically the parents are almost worse than the kids. So you're saying, yeah, the kids have cell phones, but it's the parents who are mostly calling the kids. And it's like, hey, I'll pick you up here. Do you want to go out for dinner? Right? It's like, what do you want to do after school? Is that what the parents are calling their kids about in the middle of math class?
Yes, it very well could be. And also, they have 15 minutes in a classroom. They only have a short time to get to the next class. So you mean to tell me Maura Healey wants to they're okay to get on their phone to go to the next class? That's going to be a nightmare. The teachers are not going to like that. No way.
So, Carol, are you? I just want to make sure I get your position clear. You're for a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones, correct? In schools.
I would absolutely not have them go check their phone bell to bell. Half the kids can't even make it into a classroom. On the right, I think I don't know, it's 2 minutes. I forget the minutes they have them in between classes. But there's somebody better think of something. They should pilot something for 2 years, try different things, get some students in there, and let's listen to what they say, too. Have a negotiation going on. I don't like any government getting involved, especially Maura Healey. She plays two sides to the fiddle.
Carol, in your experience as an educator, are kids now, I'm not saying every child, but are many children, many kids, students, are they addicted to phones, to technology, to social media, to iPads, to, computers, smartphones? Are we now seeing a form of addiction? Is that what this is?
100%.
Wow.
It can't even be out of the classroom. Even when it's in those pockets, those shoe pockets, that don't work. They get up, they look, they just have to see it. Don't touch my cell phone. Then the other one yelling at the other one. No. It's got to be even in their backpacks. Their backpack's not near them. They have to have their equipment out to start the classroom. They got 15 minutes. Come on, let's listen to the teacher.
Wow. Carol, thank you very, very much for that call. I mean, I knew it was bad. Geez, I don't know, man. Grace is starting to... I don't know now. I'm starting to see it more from Grace's point of view. Although Carol agrees with me, she's against a mandated ban, a government-enforced ban. But I didn't know it was this bad in the classroom. Holy mackerel. Carol, thank you very much for that call. I mean, these are addicts. I mean, it's not even, it's just, yes, they got to keep using them. They're on them. But okay, if I can't have it, I want to see my backpack so I know my phone is there. So you can't focus for 50 minutes? I don't know, say on a chemistry lesson or I don't know, a geography lesson, whatever. You can't focus for 50 minutes on what the teacher is saying without having the cell phone right next to you, or you're looking at it, or you can see it. It's like a crack pipe. Bill in Cambridge. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Kuhner.
Bill, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I could be doing better. I could be doing worse. But I think I have a suggestion for a possible solution.
Yes, go ahead, Bill.
And this could address three concerns in the schools. So, technology already exists. So, you know, all the commercial buildings typically have card access with security cards.
Yes.
Okay. So, we're concerned about mass shootings, right? All right, we'll get back to that. But anyways, getting back to the phone, there's already apps and everything that exists. And I don't have all the particulars figured out yet, but reduction in access can be obtained if somebody creates the right app, okay? Now, what you would do is you would take, all right, so during COVID, all right, they had these apps. If I went into a biotech, a commercial building, colleges, I had to fill out the fields before my security access card would be enabled for me to gain access to the building. It was all linked together. So you had the app, you filled out the fields, and once you met the right criteria, your card got activated, and guess what? Security-wise, you're in. I'm combining it, and my idea is to have the security and the phone functionality reduction combined, and you might like put a QR code, you know, in the vestibule, you know, with the card access, and each kid would be issued a card, parents as well, teachers as well. That way, you know, everybody that's going in and out of school, what time they carded in. All that stuff can be, you can do an audit.
That's interesting. No, that's interesting. That's very, very, very interesting. And this way you can keep the doors locked, obviously, to keep potential school shooters out. But, you know, you're right. The kids have access to the building, the teachers, if you want, the parents. Look, Bill, I like it. I think it's a very innovative idea. Okay, text line, it's going nuclear. I think everybody and their aunt is weighing in on this one. Okay, this is from my good friend Manny up in New Hampshire. This is what he wrote to me. As they say, once a Marine, always a Marine. Well, this is Manny's take. Jeff, lose the damn phones. We all survived without them. We used to ride all over the town, spend the weekends outside, and holy moly, we managed. There is absolutely no damn reason for them to have meaning the students, kids, for them to have a cell phone in school. And again, when does personal responsibility come into play? Especially for the parents. Everyone is so friggin' lazy these days, always looking for the easy way. So basically, Manny's position is, who needs a cell phone? We managed without cell phones. Why is it now every child's got to have a cell phone? It's got to be in class. It's got to be in school. It's got to be in the movie theaters. It's got to be in restaurants. It's everywhere. Just everywhere you go, kids are on their cell phones. Why? And ultimately, it's up to the parents to exercise parental authority and personal responsibility. So basically, no, Ava, you're not getting a phone. You know, well, Daddy, my friends all have a phone. Well, that's just too bad. So I guess you're going to have to be the odd duckling on this one. You'll live, you'll survive. So Manny's basically saying it's time for some tough love. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. This is a very, very interesting message that I got on Messenger from Charles. And here's what he wrote. It's a long message, so I'm not going to read all of it, but he is a teacher. Here's what he wrote. Jeff, after teaching in Arizona and then having my kids go through West Springfield, and now I'm teaching in Florida, I can tell you that the cell phone ban really doesn't make any difference. You hear about the select few kids that won't put it away, but most kids really don't care and don't let it distract them. Also, if they want their phone, they're going to keep the phone. It's now almost become a challenge to the students in how to get around these school phone bans. They find it funny when they can outsmart the school. For example, West Springfield felt really good when they implemented the cell phone ban. Parents were against it, but the Democrats were in favor of it. Well, at the high school graduation, the valedictorian looked straight at the superintendent, the mayor, and the principal, and then asked all the students in the audience, how many of you violated the cell phone ban? And all the students started saying, I did. And then the valedictorian said, I did too. And all the students started cheering. All they do, Jeff, is they bring a fake phone, a burner phone, and the school doesn't even know the difference. Hell, none of the teachers even really enforce it. So how to use a phone properly is never even taught. It's about a lot more than this. Due to Chromebooks and lots of other tech, students can't read or even write a basic sentence. And this is Charles, who now lives in Florida, and he's a school teacher. So Charles is saying this change that Mike is talking about, when it started 9-10 years ago when he was in high school, everything onto the iPads and now onto these Chromebooks, these laptops. He says it's been a disaster, that they're not learning anything. They can't write anymore. They can't do basic math, that we have all of this high tech, but we're neglecting the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. 617-266-6868. Maggie on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, Maggie, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Maggie.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I am a retired teacher. I've taught for 25 years, and at a high school, my latter years, and then I've gone back to substitute teach in middle school, and it happens to be a middle school in New Hampshire as opposed to my teaching in Massachusetts. Just listening to you read Charles's text, I couldn't agree with him more. This is a much bigger problem than simply the cell phone in the classroom, but I do think that that's not a reason to overlook that we need to do something about these cell phones, because I taught pre and post cell phone, so I can see the big difference. But it's also interwoven with a total change in parenting. The parents are also addicted to the cell phones, and because they grew up, if you think about it, I'm old enough to be my students' grandmother, so I also taught their parents. And it's a multi-generational sort of problem. In the classroom now, when you're teaching adolescents in particular, there's always this distraction. I remember passing notes when I went to school, and if the nuns caught me, there were consequences. Imagine that on steroids. There's a constant undercurrent of distraction. The kids' minds are rarely, those who are most addicted to them, and it is an addiction. It is an addiction. I completely agree with that. Those kids are never completely engaged. And adolescence is a time of distraction to begin with, and now you're just going to add something else to it. There's another thing that I've noticed that's become more popular now is these wireless earbuds. Now, you can not see the phone, and you don't see the earbuds, and they've got their hair pulled down. They're listening to music. They don't hear one thing you're saying. And the teacher is at a constant disadvantage. I mean, when I was passing my notes, there was a good chance the nun was going to catch me. But when a kid is texting, and they are masterful at even having the cell phone in the pocket of their hoodie, for example, they can still, by just glancing down, these kids are great at texting. Obviously, they were as great at math, but they're very good at texting and making it very difficult for the teacher. The whole idea of let each teacher handle it the way that they think is best, that doesn't work. Because, number one, the average kid goes to middle or high school 7 classes a day, 7 different teachers, 7 different policies. You're set up for it just not working. And I have been on the receiving end, as other teachers might say, of saying, hey, I've given you a warning. give me your cell phone, please. I'll hold it in my desk until the end of class. You can get the most horrific tirade of obscenities, of anger, of you don't pay my bill, and unfortunately, you don't get the support of the parents. So, like a lot of other teachers, I finally just said...
Holy mackerel. Maggie, can I just, if you don't mind, back up just 2 sentences? You're telling me that if you go up to a student, say that's texting or watching videos or whatever, playing video games on his cell phone or her cell phone, and you say, hand me the cell phone, that's it, you're done. Okay, you're done. You're distracting me. You're distracting yourself. You're distracting people around you. Give me the cell phone. I'm going to hold it, put it in the desk, whatever. Their response to the teacher is, you don't pay my bills? Is that what they say?
Yes, but that's also a reflection of whatever type of parenting that child has had.
Maggie, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Oh my, if I spoke like that, A, my father would never allow me to have a cell phone. B, he would never allow me to bring it to school. Okay, I'm telling you right now. But C, God forbid, all these things happened. I spoke to a teacher like that, my father would have my head. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Maggie. And you're saying the parents, when you tell the parents, hey, look, your child's been on the phone the whole time. It's distracting me. He's not learning or she's not learning, and it's distracting others in the classroom. They back the child and not the teacher?
Yep. I would say that a parent like you and like my father would have been, you're not necessarily the minority, but you have a lot of parents who have no clue what their kids are doing on the phones. And it's not always intentional. Parents are busy. They're trying to just hold down the fort these days. Single parents, parents working night shifts. Maybe they don't even see their kids when they're leaving for school in the morning. A whole host of reasons. And there's always been kids who come from troubled backgrounds, poor parenting. But the cell phone is just a way that it is exemplified in the student's behavior in school. It's given one more opportunity for how that can be expressed. And, oh, yes, I've had parents say, you don't pay the bill. So it's just, that's an issue of respect. I don't know that but the cell phone becomes the vehicle by which it's expressed.
Maggie, let me ask you this question, because obviously you're a woman of tremendous experience. You've been teaching for a long time. You know different eras, different generations. As you said, you're not just teaching their kids, you taught the parents of these kids. Maggie, would you say over the last 30 years, 35 years, whatever, that there has been a decline, a loss of respect for the teachers in the classroom, not just from the students, but even from the parents of the students? Or am I overstating it?
Overstating it at all. We have these things, I'm sure you've gone to them, called parent-teacher conferences. And those parents are usually the ones that don't necessarily need to be there. You have them periodically. I think they're a little outdated right now. But each parent has an opportunity to meet the teachers and to discuss face-to-face. That's been replaced a little bit now by, believe it or not, ironically, there are apps where the teacher can have the parent set up on a text and can text the parent and say, your child did this, 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 and this. And parents sign up for this. They want to be texted. Or you can email. I always avoided that. I never would text a parent, nor did I want to be texted by a parent, because I felt that texting sometimes can be misinterpreted because of just the format of the language that you use. And secondly, I always would guarantee that if a parent emailed me, I would promise to get back to them within 24 hours or less, because that gives me time to read the email and think about it and really word my response in such a way that it means something. So I would always email a parent if I needed to talk to them, rather than cold call or just text. I don't know if the parent is at a work situation where it's really not appropriate, or it's just not the right time. I believe it's an invasive sort of way to to communicate with a parent. If it's an email, they have, okay, I'm going to read my email, I'm going to respond. And that was reciprocal. So the technology speeds up the process of communication, but it does not improve the quality of the communication whatsoever. But that's a parent issue. But the biggest opposers to cell phones, as I think you probably see, are parents. And I think it's, number one, they're addicted to their phones as well. And they would prefer that you text them, that you email them. And yes, it's efficient, but it's not necessarily quality.
I agree. I think, Maggie, you're making excellent points across the board. No, Maggie, look, as I listen to you, very thoughtful, extremely thoughtful. Just two things pop to my mind, really. I think of my father and I think of myself. And a little bit how our parenting is different. A little bit. My dad was a bit sterner than I am, to be honest. Spanked more, much more than I did. But still, in the end, I've only spanked Ashton, honestly, a handful of times. And it's usually one time he was horsing around with Ava. And, I mean, he almost gouged her eye out. It wasn't on purpose. The kids are playing, and I forget what it was. Some kind of a toy was thrown, and they thought it was funny. And anyway, he cut her right underneath her eye. He literally could have gouged her eye out. And I just, I didn't just yell at him. I whacked him. This was years ago when he was much younger, on the rear end and on the back of his leg. I only hit him 2 or 3 times, but that's enough because I hardly ever spank. So the fact that I spanked him really, he never did it again. Let's put it that way. And I sent him right to his room. So I didn't spank as often as my dad. And my kids tease me about that. I'm not kidding. My kids, this I've never heard before. Both Ashton and Ava, I don't know if they're teasing me or whatever, but at the dinner table occasionally will say, Daddy, you should have spanked us more. You were too easy on us, Dad. Ha, 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 ha. So anyway, and I always there's still time. You're not out of the house yet. But, that's, I would say, the big difference. But no, I can't tell you. Now, again, Ashton's generally a good kid. But no, I prefer a direct conversation with a teacher. And I've had direct conversations with teachers with Ashton right beside me, where the teacher will tell me Ashton is not doing his homework. And I'm like, what? And they're like, no, it's been 3 or 4 days or whatever. We need to speak to you, Mr. Kuhner. Your son, for whatever reason, is coming to school and the homework is not done. And literally, like my dad, in front of the teacher, I will raise my voice, obviously not to the teacher, but to my son, to Ashton, to let the teacher know right in front of her, I respect you, I'm siding with you, I'm upholding your authority, and I'm a little bit embarrassing my kid because I'm raising my voice at him in front of the teacher. And I will look at him and say, you didn't do your homework? But I say it in a much louder voice. Are you kidding me? And then I'll tell him, you apologize to your teacher right now. And he apologizes. And then I say, Miss, ma'am, whatever, Mrs., whatever. I'll just say Mrs. Smith or Miss Smith. Miss Smith, his homework will be done by tomorrow morning. I give you my guarantee. I said, is that correct, Ashton? And then he'll sheepishly say yes. And then in front of her, and I've done the same thing with Ava, Ashton, I better not hear about this again. If your teacher calls me here again, you are in big, and I mean big trouble. Do you understand, young man? So, and my dad would do the same. Like my dad would then, whack me or whatever afterwards. I don't. I get mad at him. I raise my voice in the car and I let him know, I want you home. I want you working on your homework immediately. And you don't stop until it's all done and you're completely caught up. And I want it on her desk tomorrow morning and you're going to apologize a second time. Now, let me just tell you this, Maggie. God is my witness. I have received emails from school. Ashton's not doing his homework. Ava's not doing her homework, whatever. And I will write back. I say, I prefer a personal meeting, but if you're busy, I get it. I will email back. Listen to this, where I say, this is unacceptable. and I will talk to Ashton, and I promise you the homework will be all caught up and done and on your desk tomorrow morning. The teacher now, I've noticed this, it's been about 5 years. The teacher will write back, email me back, and say, oh, it's okay, it's not so bad. Like, don't be too hard on the kid. We just wanted to give you a heads up. But he doesn't have to have it all done by tomorrow. Or, you know, like, you don't have to be so upset about it or so stern about it or so severe about it. And I'm looking like, no, it's his homework. He needs to get it done. He's not doing it. I'm angry. Grace is angry. We're going to rectify this. Like, you know, why are you soft pedaling this? I mean, I'm thinking this in my mind. And I'll just write back saying, no, he will be told, and this will never happen again. But I'm noticing now, among at least younger teachers, they almost reprimand you, the parent. If you're like, this is unacceptable, this won't happen again. They're almost like, no, hey, come on. You know, take it easy. I'm like, so how's he going to learn responsibility? What you think? What you think? I can come in and do my show at 7 or 7:30? I got to be on the air at 6. I got to meet my professional commitments. So what's the example? That's what homework is. These are your commitments, and that you're learning, and that you're ready, that you understand the subject matter. So what? Is my kid going to get the lesson now that, hey, I don't have to show prep? I can do the show whenever I want, and everything is going to be fine? So I won't prepare for the show, and then if I want to start at 6:45, or if I want to sleep in, or start at 7, or start at 8, yeah, that's not the real world, buddy. You're going to be out of a job, and you should be out of a job. I'm just using a radio talk show host as an example. So, no, homework to me is very serious. And I'll tell you this, I know we're talking about cell phones, but we used to have a lot more homework. I remember when I went to school, we had about 2 hours of homework every night. My kids hardly have homework anymore. I mean, they have a little bit. That's another reason why I get upset. I'm like, what is it? 20 minutes of homework? Half an hour of homework tops? You can't do half an hour? So, look, I hear it again and again and again from teachers that the students, the quality of the students, the quality of the learning is not what it was even 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of it is what Maggie's telling me. The parents are as bad as the kids. The parents don't care. And if the parents don't care, the kids don't care. And for teachers, they find it incredibly demoralizing. If you don't care that your child is acting up in class or talking on the phone or playing video games or disrespecting me, then what? I can't help your child. Your child is going to fail at school. And if they fail at school, they're very likely to fail at life. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I'm looking at the poll results so far of the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, and it's very interesting. So let me ask you, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. It's been up now for about half an hour, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who abuses cell phones more? Kids or their parents? Let me ask you, all of you, who do you think abuses their cell phones more? Kids or their parents? A, kids. B, parents. I personally, if I was to vote in this, I'd probably vote A. I'd vote for kids. But most of you disagree. So far, it is 55% of you say parents and 45% of you say kids. So far, it's a slight majority. But Kuhner Country is saying almost like blame the parents more than the kids. They're more hooked on the phones than the kids are. And obviously the kids are learning it from the parents. Very interesting. Anyway, so Mike, I asked Mike, I said, Mike, what do you think? Kids or parents? And he was with me. He said kids. But maybe you know something we don't. So let me ask all of you again. Who abuses cell phones more? A, kids. B, their parents. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X. And yep, I was active last night on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER, K-Train in Malden. Thanks for holding, K-Train, and welcome.
Good morning, Kuhner.
Hi, K-Train.
I wish I heard the story I'm about to tell you when my kids were Ava's age. It was 12 years ago, and they were the last ones in their school, 8th grade and 6th grade. Everyone knew they did not have a cell phone. That is true. If someone doesn't have a cell phone, every child in the school knew. And I said, I pick you up from school, and I drop you off, and everyone's got a phone. You don't need one. But one daughter was going to high school, and I said, it's time to get them a phone. And what I've noticed over the years, and when I handed it to them, I told them, don't do anything on this phone you don't want the world to see. I think that's good advice. And there has to be boundaries set up for dinner when they walk in the door from school. And because I noticed the thing about the pop culture where when we were 13 years old, we thought we knew everything. Could you imagine if you had a device in your phone in your hand back then that actually nurtured that thought process? So we're dealing with a pop culture with no respect because they don't need the information from the elders. On top of that, it develops a phrase that my doctor asked if he could actually use because I noticed it was developing tunnel comprehension. Tunnel comprehension is something you're going to have to deal with your kids. So much information will come out of that phone and answer. And try to have boundaries. Dinner, and never let them go to bed with it. I wish I knew that back then. What do you think?
K-Train, look, you're making a lot of sense to me. And we limit Grace is the one that really, imposes these policies. I agree with her, but she's the one that drops the hammer, as they say. Ashton is limited on his cell phone use. I think it's an hour. He's got 1 hour a day. That's it. And if we do get Ava a phone, it's going to have a lot of parental controls, like with Ashton. It's going to be limited with time limits. And no, you can't use it at dinner. You can't use it at bed. Absolutely not when you go to sleep. You have to put strict boundaries. You have to. But I love your point. I think you're right. Look, I remember 13, 14, 15, you're becoming a teenager. You think you know everything. You're defying your parents. You're defying authority. You're trying to forge your own identity. So you think you're never wrong. So there's already that, that's already working in your system. You add these cell phones with the TikTok and the Instagram and, these attitudes that these influencers have where you're never wrong. Authority's always, wrong. You're always right. Don't respect your parents. Don't respect your elders. Don't respect your teachers. Don't respect the police. Don't respect anybody. You're just making it worse. And I think, K-Train, look, I think we as a country and as a society, and this is not unique to America, this is all over the world. This is a European problem. It's a problem in Japan, in China. It doesn't matter where you go. We as a society are becoming addicted to technology. I mean, look, I was just thinking throughout the whole conversation today, I'm like, well, technically, am I an addict? And I don't watch TikTok. I'm not, but all my news now, I'm holding my phone as I'm talking to you, my iPhone. All my news now comes through the iPhone. I have subscriptions to all these different newspapers. I go to all of these different websites. Everything is through the phone. No, it's true. And I'm also on Twitter. Every night I'm commenting, I'm, writing something, I'm pontificating on some issue, whatever. But when I think about it, my eyes are always in front of a screen. Whether it's my phone or it's my computer or it's my iPad or it's my laptop or whatever it may be. Now, I'm not playing games. I'm not playing video games. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not doing selfies. I'm not on TikTok. I mean, I'm always kind of show prepping. But just the way my brain is now wired, okay, well, let me check my phone. Well, why do I got to keep checking my phone? Well, I got to look at the latest updates. Well, is there breaking news? Well, why can't you wait, say, for 5 o'clock and then show prep for 3 hours or 4? No, I'm always checking, always reading, nonstop, all day. Now, I don't know if that's addiction. I don't know. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, please don't get me wrong. I want to continue, obviously, to talk about and take calls on whether cell phones should be banned bell to bell in schools. 31 states either ban them completely or have severe restrictions on them in school. Massachusetts now has a big bill that has already passed the state Senate, is going to pass the state House, apparently, and Healy wants to sign it, which would effectively ban cell phones in all public schools, bell to bell, from the beginning of the day, school day, to the absolute end. Now, and there are other states that are following. So it's almost going to be 50 states within about a year and a half. So agree, disagree. But I'm very interested again in what's happening with this audience, Kuhner Country, regarding the poll. The poll question again is, who abuses cell phones more, kids or their parents? And again, you can vote WRKO.com/Kuhner, or if you prefer on X, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhner. It is now 58% say parents, 42% kids. You can vote A, kids, B, parents. It was 55-45, what was it, maybe 20 minutes ago. And it looks like the more of you that keep voting, more of you are saying it's parents who are even more addicted to their phones than the kids, who abuse the phones even more than these students, and that ultimately maybe the problem is not, of course it's with the kids, but maybe the ultimate problem is with the parents. So let me throw this big log on the fire. Are people in our country, in our society, becoming too addicted to iPhones, smartphones, whatever you want to call them, to this technology, and that in a sense now this technology is completely controlling and running our lives in a way that wasn't even 10 or 15 years ago? And I mentioned to you how often now I'm on my iPhone all the time. Not that I'm not even talking to people. It's a phone, but I mean, I call my sister, I call my wife, obviously Grace, the kids now, my bunny, Ashton. Sorry, I call him the bunny man. That's my nickname for him. Ashton, he has a phone. I call him. But most of my time on the phone is, reading news sites, reading articles, newspapers that I subscribe to. And I'm always on my phone, always, nonstop. And, and then I'm on X later and I'm sending out tweets. But so much of my life now revolves around my freaking phone, which it's not even that I'm talking. It's that I'm reading and show prepping. Now, I don't know if I'm addicted. Maybe I am. I mean, I don't know. But I want to ask you, are you addicted to your phone? Or do you know people, adults, who are addicted to their phones? And let me just make one last point, and I want to go back to the phone lines. I've noticed this now. It's been about 10 years. It's been about a good decade where Grace and I and the kids will go out to eat. We'll go to a restaurant. Now, we never use phones when we're eating, whether at home or out, at a restaurant eating out. We always say, put the phones away. I want to talk to you. I want to see you. You don't want to talk or whatever, fine. Mommy and I will talk, as I tell them. Grace and I will talk. And the two of you can just listen. So, at the dinner table, eating out, no phones ever, ever, ever. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a restaurant, and it's actually very sad. You'll see a mother and a father, let's say 2 kids. Every single one of them is on the phone. So here they are having a meal as a family. The father's looking at his phone. The mom's looking at her phone. The kids, doesn't matter what their age is, 10, 12, 14, 8, doesn't matter. They're all on their phones. And not a single word is said. They don't even look at each other in the face. Now, I've noticed this even when I go on vacation. Say you stay at a hotel or, by the pool or whatever. There'll be and again, when we go on vacation, all phones. No, I don't want to. I'm there to relax. I'm not there to show prep. I'm not there to follow the news. I leave my phone in my luggage, and the kids are not allowed to bring their phones. Okay, it's time. It's family time. We're going to hang out together. We're going to eat together. We're going to go in the pool together. We're going to whatever. We're going to be together. But I can't tell you how many times I'm, say, by the pool with Grace and the kids, and I look around, and the father's on sitting on a bench or whatever, sitting on a chair, a lawn chair, whatever, and is on the phone. The mother on the phone. The kids on the phone. Or they're at the beach. They're all on the phone. And so there they are. It's beautiful. It's sunny, beautiful water, and they're just staring at that screen. And I don't mean they're staring at it for 5 minutes. Hours and hours and hours and hours. And then you see them again later at dinner. And the same thing. They're eating and they're all staring at the phone. And then you see them after dinner and they're walking and they're staring at the phone at the same time. Honestly, I'm like, aren't you going to run into the wall? Aren't you going to, you're not seeing where you're going. Yeah, maybe I'm just jealous that I can't do that, Mike. I don't have that talent. But it's just, I'm like, they are glued to those phones. It's morning to night. They can't vacation without it. They can't eat without it. It's almost like they can't function without it. Anyway, agree, disagree. Martha in Methuen. Thanks for holding, Martha, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Martha?
I'm very good, and I love Mike. I just wanted to get that in there, too. I just think he's, magnificent, as well as you are. Well, Jeff, listen, I agree 1,000%, as you would say, that our kids are definitely not learning to their potential because of the cell phones, and they're socially awkward and what have you. However, I feel that the start of the school shootings across this country have really changed everything in this regard. Now, I'm 70, and I know you're much younger than me, but when we were kids, sure, we ran around. We never had cell phones. I had to be home before the light came on the post outside the house, and that was not the third bump up, but as soon as it started to dim, we had to get home. And we were all the better for it, honestly, when we look back, all the way in life, socially, academically, and everything. But yet, we weren't afraid to go to school, Jeff, right? We might have been afraid of a couple of bullies here and there, and, that was a little bit of a problem, but we weren't worried, and our parents weren't worried about us not coming home or having to run up to the school because of a shooting. I just feel, believe me, I wish there was no technology at all. The kids would be much better off, 1,000%. All of us probably would be. But, but I feel, too, like if that notice ever came out, I'm a grandmother. If a notice ever came out that everything passes with that bill and the kids from bell to bell are not going to have that cell phone, I can almost feel for myself as a grandmother immediate anxiety about the shootings, possible shootings, or an emergency. That I'd be in Boston and I can't get home, you know what I mean? Or they can't reach me, or God forbid something happened to one of them and they have to live with, well, if they had a phone, maybe they could have called me. I'll let other callers jump in here too, Jeff. You always have great shows, but I just wanted to chime in on
Martha, look, I'm with you. That's What I'm telling you is what I told my wonderful wife last night over dinner. I said, look, it's a different age we live in now. I said, I hear what you're saying. You're making excellent points. She's making great points. I said, look, I live with the fear of school shootings every day. I do. I'm sorry. And that's a big reason why I want to give Ava a cell phone. And God forbid, if something happens, I want her to be able to call 911, call the police, call me, because I don't feel safe with schools anymore. Boy, Mike, you're really having fun with today's show. Let me tell you, the music, all show. I'm one call away. 617-266-6868, 849 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, let's let it all hang out, as they say. Should we ban cell phones from schools? Number one. But number two, even more, maybe even a bigger topic. Are we now too addicted as a country, as a society, to cell phones, especially iPhones, smartphones? Are they now effectively running and controlling our lives? And in particular, in your life, do you feel like you're always on that device? Because honestly, as I was telling Mike, I think 95% of my time with my iPhone, I'm not even talking to anybody. It's just me, reading this story, tracking down that article, looking at this clip, whatever. It's nonstop show prepping now. I remember even 10, 15 years ago, you read the papers in the morning, maybe you print stuff off the computer, say off of the Drudge Report or, whatever, and you show prep at night, and then, you're pretty much ready. Oh, now it's 24/7, Texas redistricting. Did the House pass it? Did the State House, which by the way they did. Did the State House pass it? Okay. I got to keep following it all day long. All day long. So it's like I'm eating and I'm already twitching. Let me look at my phone. Look, the Texas redistricting, you can look at it at 5 p.m. You don't have to know now at 1 o'clock. I'm just giving you a quick example. This happened to me yesterday. I'm like, did they pass it? Yeah, did they? You can't wait 3-4 hours. And I'm telling you, it's leading to a change. Just personally, everything's got to be now. I'm noticing myself. I get more impatient. Now. Everything's got to be now. Whatever. I need to know now. Give me my information now. Why should I wait? I want it now. So let me ask you, are we becoming addicted now to phones and to technology? Steve in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Steve.
Long time, listener and the first time caller.
Welcome, Steve.
And I've been a teacher for over 25 years in the public school system here in Massachusetts. I think you can actually have both things like you were talking about. You could use your phone, but understand the realm of what you're using it in. For example, like you just mentioned, you're prepping for your show, but I'm sure if you were at a theater or you were at a recital that your kids have done or doing, they would make a statement, please put away your phones until after the show. You would do that. So there's a appropriate use of technology. The problem that I've seen in the classroom is that it's been a slow decay of the teacher authority in the classroom, and it's a leadership issue. As a teacher, we are the leaders of the classroom. We set the model. We show the example. We tell the kids what's expected, and we follow the same rules, at least I do in the classroom, that I'm trying to implement for the students. So you have to have the moral authority. But when the students cross that line, they take their phone out, and you go to report to the office, you don't get the backing that you used to get. And that's a leadership issue. So they don't want to address that. And I think that your topic of the show is excellent. Like you said, 1,000% in agreement on this with you. And another log on the fire would be, let's examine the whole, say, decision-making process of each of the school districts. A lot of times the school committee who has to pass these policies don't know what they don't know. So they don't want to hear from the teachers who have been experienced there because they want to go to suppress what they have to say. And they put people on there that they know that they can go to control. They don't want to speak the truth. They don't want the Josh Hawleys and the Donald Trumps in these schools to raise these issues. And they go to suppress you. And if you go to bring it up, you get written up, you get slowly undermined, and then all of a sudden now you're on the target. So that's how I see it. That you can actually, if it was done the right way and you had the backing from the administration, you could actually have these phones in the classroom with the teachers being able to go to control that and to monitor that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And a lot of times the administration, they don't really have the teaching experience that they used to have in 10 to 15 years in the classroom before they became an administrator. So,
you're making great points. Steve, honestly, you're making outstanding points. Steve, look, all I can do is literally just piggyback off of what you're saying because I agree with everything you said. Look, I've noticed this. I've noticed it. And I've noticed it now over a good 20, 25 years. The erosion, as you put it, and I thought it was well phrased, the erosion of teacher authority, not just in the classroom. You know, you said the teacher is the leader in the classroom, the authority, the moral authority in the classroom. Yes. But I remember growing up, and I'm just telling you historically, as an historian, I'm telling all of you, teachers were pillars of the community. I remember growing up for my father, my grandfather, being a teacher was a very respected job and a very respected calling. I mean, they had tremendous respect for teachers. First of all, I think teachers are underpaid. I think the very good teachers in particular are grossly underpaid. I don't think we value teachers enough. That's number one. Number two, again, I'll go back to one of the callers. I could have been Maggie, but please, there were so many good callers. The names kind of, mesh in my mind. But when she, when she said, I tell a student, you're on the phone, you're interrupting the class. You're not learning, you're distracting fellow students. Give me the phone. And the student says to the teacher, you don't pay my bills? I'm sorry, are you kidding me? I would, as a child, in high school, okay? I'd be like, my father's going to kill me. The moment this teacher or the principal calls, I'm telling you, I'm in big trouble. Like, you just wouldn't hear of something like that. I can't tell you how many emails, text messages I get from teachers. Jeff, we get assaulted and we can't do a thing. We get spit on. We can't do a thing. You should see how they swear at us. The obscenities, the profanity, the disrespect. We can't do a thing. And then the most shocking part of it all is when we call the parents are like, you leave my Jimmy alone, or you leave my Jenny alone. Like, it's not Jenny's fault, it's your fault. And so it's getting to the point, and by the way, it's not just teachers, it's cops, police officers. Much more disrespected now, especially after Black Lives Matter and the summer of 2020, the George Floyd riots. The way the police now are disrespected and vilified is disgusting. I could go on. The way parental authority is undermined and disrespected. The way I see children talk to their parents and their grandparents and their aunts and uncles. Look, you know me. I'm a softie when it comes to, corporal punishment. I can count on my hand the number of times I spanked my kids. But I swear to you, I listen to some of these kids, the way I'm talking 10, 11, 12 years old, the way they're mouthing off at the mother or the father. Here, just yesterday, I took Ava to the dentist. Okay, she got her braces removed. Okay? And this girl couldn't have been more than 12 years old. And the way she's dressed, like her shoulder is completely exposed. What belly button? It's right up to her rib cage. I mean, she's dressed. I just can't believe the way she's dressed. Okay. But let that go. And the way she's talking to her dad, he was mentioning, it's nothing to do with the dentistry, but something about, I need you to help your mother with this, and this is her to the father. Quote, I can't say it on the air. You're not going to effing tell me what to do. I'm not in the effing mood. She can do it herself. Bang. I swear, bang. Right in the back of the head. Bang. I mean, that I would talk to my mother or my father like that? That any of my friends? Now, again, this is not, back in my day. No. This is civilized society. They're becoming animals. They're coddled. They're narcissistic. They're self-absorbed. They have no respect for other people, for their parents, for authority, for anyone. And they're coming down the pipeline. Like, they're going to be running the country soon. Like, you have to understand, our country is going to be in their hands. Now, if she's talking to her father at 12 like this, and about her mother like this, and this, apparently, they look very middle class to me. I mean, it's my area. The guy came in a nice car. He was a very nice father, but he had no authority, no discipline over it. He's just taking it. So, sorry, Steve, I don't mean to, get on a little bit of a tangent, but what I'm saying is it's obvious there's a breakdown in authority. We're seeing it across the board. And so, to me, we don't value teachers enough. Now, a teacher has a right to run a classroom in which there's no disorder, in which the parents are there to back the teacher, and in which the students are there to learn. And you can't learn if all they're doing is they're on stupid device playing video games or talking to people or texting to people, or they're disrespecting the teacher. Because you see, there are students that do want to learn. So what about the students that want to learn? Why should they be punished because of these jerks? And then just to end with this, Steve, this is the part that blows my mind. The parents are calling the students, their kids, in the classroom. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? When do you want to meet? When would you like me to pick you up? What would you like for dinner? That's another thing. The mother, look, to the parents out there, you're the boss. This is not a democracy. This is the thing that's changed in the last 30 years. I'm telling you, everybody thinks now a family's a democracy. No. The kids don't get a vote. Because if my kids, I'm telling you, all my kids want to do is eat mac and cheese. And I keep telling them, I'm not going to pump you up with carbs. Like, you're going to get fruits, you're going to get vegetables, you're going to get protein. No, you're going to have a healthy, balanced meal. You don't like it? Well, when you're older, do what you want. You want to trash yourself? Trash yourself. But that's not how I'm raising you. So you don't dictate what we eat. Now, yes, once a week, we go out for junk food. I let the kids decide where we want to go. But the other 6 days and 2 meals, it's what me and, most importantly, Grace, mommy, says we're going to eat. Now, and this is our policy. The food is on the table. Eat. Now, if you don't want to eat, you're going to be a spoiled brat, no problem. No dinner. Go to bed. Go to your room, go to bed, no dinner. But it's incredible. Everybody, they're just catering to these kids. They dictate the menu. They dictate the vacation. They dictate everything. And now they come into the classroom because they're all entitled. They're all narcissistic. If they don't respect their parents, Steve, they're not going to respect you. Sorry to break the news to you. And so this is the problem. And I can't tell you how many times, and again, this is not some, inner city slum where you're saying, well, the gangs and the drugs, and these are suburbs, upper middle class neighborhoods. 10, 11, 12 years old. Teachers are telling me the kids come in and tell the teachers and the principal to their face, F off. Literally, F you. F off. Suspended. On the spot. You do it a second time, expelled. Bye. That's it. That's it. And you call the parents in, and usually, you know, if you have a half-decent parent, you're like, what did my child say to you? What? No. This will never happen again. Trust me. Instead, no, the teacher's the bad guy or the bad girl. The principal is the one that's to blame. How, you know, well, so what? Everybody swears. So what? It's going to go on my child's record. It should go on your child's record. You're raising a monster. Frankly, honestly, you're raising a savage. We are raising savages. Again, not all kids, of course, but many of them. It's a freaking zoo in many of these schools. And then these idiot liberals, their answer is pour more money, pour more money. Hey, you can spend $50,000 per student. With these savages, it's not going to make a difference. So the answer is not more money. The answer is restore authority and power to the teachers, to the principals, to the school boards. Run a school like a freaking school. And the parents have to be told, look, I'm sorry. We're not running a daycare center for your child. Schools now, they're daycare centers. Like, we're not just here to hold your child for 6 hours and let them run wild. It's a school. Now, ultimately, last point, because I want to go back to Steve. A good education system is necessary for two reasons. Number one, it's for the, literally, this is the one time, for the children. It is. You can't function in life if you can't read, if you can't write, if you can't think, if you can't do basic mathematics, if you don't know basic science, basic geography, civics, history. You're not a citizen. You can't function. I mean, this is for your life, to lead a fulfilling life. And number two, as a country, we can't survive having a population of idiots and absolute imbeciles. We can't. Now, we import people and college and graduate school, and that's what we're trying to do to make up for our deficiencies in our education system. So what are we going to do? Hand our country over to foreigners? So, no, this for me is a national crisis. And it starts with the teacher-student relationship. Like parenting, you're the boss. I always tell my kids this. It's a dictatorship. A benevolent dictatorship. Okay, I'm not here to, throw you guys in a gulag. It's, I'm not going to stand here and abuse you kids, obviously. But no, you're here to follow the law. Mommy and daddy are the law. In my home, it's mommy. Mommy's not happy, I'm not happy, as I tell them. And if I'm not happy, boy, it's not good for you. There has to be a clear hierarchy and a clear chain of command. Now, that doesn't mean you don't love your children. It's the opposite. It means you love your children. You don't want them to be spoiled. You spoil your child, you've ruined your child, and you've ruined their life. Now, I'm telling you, we're starting to see it now. You see it in millennials, yeah, it was bad. But Generation Z, they're useless. Again, not all, but many of them, they're useless. Here, latest study. A majority of Gen Z, now these are people in their 20s, almost 30 years old, would rather live alone than get married. Stunning new study out. They would rather, listen to this, a majority now, would rather live alone than get married, have a relationship, live with somebody. Even if it's outside marriage, just be with somebody, like in a permanent relationship. Why? They don't want to share. They want everything their way. Having someone else in an apartment, in a home, it's too inconvenient. They want to live alone. So they're never going to have children. They're never going to have a relationship. Like, I'm looking at this like, don't you want to fall in love? I mean, even if it goes sour, at least you fell in love. Like, don't you want to get married? Like, I mean, do you want to just be alone the rest of your life? Yep. That's what you're rearing. You think you're doing your child a favor? And we're starting to live with the consequences of this. They can't work. They can't interact in the workplace. They can't settle down. They can't get married. They can't have relationships. They can't have kids. They can barely socially interact. The mental health crisis, their mental health issues, never as a generation suffered this kind of, what do you want? Depression, mental illness, anxiety. I mean, we're screwed. It's a screwed up generation. Again, not all. Well, what do you want? At 10 years old, they're telling the teacher to F off. At 10 years old, they're literally telling their mother and father F off because the father asked the girl to do a chore. So, no, you have to restore the teacher-student relationship. And like a parent-child relationship, you're the boss. What you say goes. And they're there to listen and obey you. Not the other way around. Steve, final word to you. Am I wrong?
Wrong, Jeff. You're 1,000% right. I'd say even 10,000. Okay? And the thing is that what you raised today has done more to help education than any workshop PD that we have. Okay? It's, in my opinion, it's all about self-interest and self-preservation for a lot of the school districts. They don't want the numbers out there that there are so many kids that may be disruptive and so on, because kids come from the home. They come to us for 6.5 hours to 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours if they play sports or do activities after school. And they go back to the home. And they come back again. So what we do in the school has to be supported by the home. And I agree with you about that. Absolutely. The thing is that over the years, it's been eroding, and it needs to be restored back. And the only way to do that is shows like yours to bring these topics up. And for, again, it comes down to the leadership and the district level with school committee members. A lot of them, meanwhile, they come from other industries and other businesses and so on, but they're not from the educational field necessarily. And the bottom line is that they don't know what they don't know. They set policies. They hire people to then hire us in the schools. And it's just a bad situation that happens because there's no consistency.
Well, you're dead on. Steve, you're out. As I like to say, you're 1,000% correct. Steve, very important call. Thank you very much. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my sister, Jenny, out in Arizona, out in Tucson, very passionate about this topic. So here's what she texted me on my private cell, on my iPhone. Yeah, the one I'm addicted to. Jeff, young mothers and fathers cannot cook anymore. They both work, and all they can do is either eat frozen food or have takeout. It is very expensive to feed kids this way. That's why they ask the kids what they want. Otherwise, it's very costly and expensive. What we're now watching is the total breakdown of the family. And this is a multifaceted problem. For example, Jeff, I know a young lady with 4 kids, 3 different fathers. There's no authority because kids don't even know who the parent is between all the stepfathers, stepmothers, girlfriends, boyfriends. And honestly, Jeff, final point, teachers are not a substitute for parents. I never said they were, but I do think, teacher authority has to be respected and upheld. But no, I hear you, Jen. I hear you loud and clear. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from 603. Jeff, the point you were just making about turning out a nation of uneducated, illiterate idiots, and that a nation or any functioning society cannot survive this, reminds me of a favorite saying of mine. Never underestimate the danger of stupid people in large numbers. In this case, it's completely unnecessary, absolutely preventable, because they're being dumbed down through neglect, and I would say by design. Bingo. Bingo. This is all being done by design. Because an uneducated, dumbed down, illiterate country is a country and a population that you can control. And when you understand liberalism, which is really another word for communism, or progressivism, which is another word for Marxism, what it's ultimately all about is power and control. Gwen in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Gwen, and welcome.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, Jeff. I have listened to you forever, and it's so nice to talk to you. Thank you for what you do.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Gwen.
So, I am a retired nanny. I have raised 3 families, my own, and I had 2 children I was a nanny for 20 years. They kept me because they wanted me to, they loved me, and I'd let the dog out, basically. And I had other children also, the ages of 10 and 8 now. So I've had a lot of experiences with schools and security. I come from a police family. What I want to say is that you and Grace are doing a great job. I'm 5'1". The second family that I raised, the son is a CPA, and the girl is going to be a doctor.
Wow.
So, and I was with them for 9 hours a day. Now, what I want to say is, with the cell phone issue, they had rules like you and Grace do, exactly like you and Grace do, actually. They couldn't have their phone at night. They had to check, and they were pretty strict with that, and they did not, and they do not today as adults. Now they're 28 and 26, and I went for Thanksgiving, and they do not use their phone at dinner. They respect their parents, and they respect me. And what I was saying about authority, one issue. In schools, please tell me why there can't be cameras in the classrooms, and why the teachers are against that. And also, I hope there's cameras in the corridors. And another question I have is, why can't we have metal detectors at the doors and a retired policeman at the door for authority reasons?
Oh, I agree. No, Gwen, I completely agree with you. See, that would solve the issue of school shootings and the kind of violence and chaos that you see in many schools, middle schools, and high schools. But you see, the Democrats don't want to solve problems. I mean, I'm being serious. They want to create problems so they can have themselves intervene so they can expand their power. That's what this is all about. You're right. There should be metal detectors in schools. Of course there should be. There should be cameras in the hallway. There should be, frankly, cameras in the classroom. I want to see what my student is doing in class. What my child is doing in class. I also want to see what the teacher is teaching in class. There should be cameras in the classroom. No question. Absolutely no question. But you see, the liberals won't allow it, because then the parents will see, whoa, what does voting for Barack Obama or what does voting for Kamala Harris have to do with biology? Or what does that have to do with, algebra? And they don't want to get that exposed. So that's why they'd rather, keep the cameras out, keep the metal detectors out, and keep police officers out. Forget retired. I like the idea of having armed security, have retired police officers. Okay, just very, very quickly, I just want to exclamation point to what I was just saying in response to that excellent call. No, I definitely want retired police officers at schools. Hell, I'll even take, regular police, active police officers at school. We need to call what they call harden the target. No more gun-free zones. That's why I believe so many of these school shootings continue to take place. If these school shooters knew that there was armed personnel, again, these are trained people. They could be ex-military. They could be retired police. If you want school resource officers, put a couple of patrol cars or at least one patrol car right on campus. That will deter 90 to 95% of the school shootings. Why? Because they know they come in, one shot, they fire one or two shots, there's going to be shots coming back. And if you look at many of the mass shootings of the last 30, 40 years, it's either in schools, it's in shopping malls, it's in movie theaters where the shooters knew they were gun-free zones. Because ultimately they're a bunch of cowards. So, no, no one is going to tell me that we can't protect our children if we want to. But they don't want to. That's the problem. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly, my sister again, Arizona, Jennifer. This is what she wrote, and I think she's completely right. Jeff, do you remember during COVID when kids were taking online classes? This is when parents were astonished at what was being taught in the classroom. And that is very true, by the way. This is why they don't want cameras in the classroom. Bingo. And then my sister adds, instead of teaching DEI and how evil America is, how about they teach basic skills? Like, I don't know, how to open a bank account, cook, sew a button. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Jen, call me crazy. Maybe a little reading, a little writing, a little arithmetic. I don't know. Maybe they can learn a little bit about our Constitution. I mean, it is just the greatest document for human freedom and personal liberty in the world, in the history of the world. So I don't know, maybe teach them a few of the amendments. The Bill of Rights. I don't know, 3 of them. How about 3? 3 amendments in the Bill of Rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment, and throw in the 10th Amendment. 617-266-6868. Okay, I'm not going to mention the town. It's a town in Massachusetts. But I won't mention it because this person has asked for anonymity. So I will not mention a specific town. But I trust this person. I know this person. I trust this person impeccably. Jeff, the public schools in this town, now listen to this, have 2,855 students. Around 1,900. So remember, we're talking about 2,800 students. 1,900 of those students need behavioral health assistance in school. And a majority of those 1,900 students either do not speak any English or are learning English as a second language. This is incredible. That is unsustainable. When it was brought up at the last town meeting, the school superintendent and other town meeting members could not handle talking about how to solve this problem and instead shouted down / shamed the few people who questioned this madness. A town where the public schools have 2,855 students, 1,900 need behavioral health assistance. Most of them can't speak English or English only as a second language. Now, you tell me, how are the children going to learn? How are the kids? How can you learn in this environment? I mean, this is a disaster. And this person adds, Jeff, I was shocked when I saw those numbers. But these town committee members all defended it And they think it's fine. All of this tax money being wasted. And the kids who want to learn get shafted because half or more than half of the students need constant extra attention and assistance. Bingo. Bingo. And this is what we call the dumbing down of America. So you have to spend all your time, energy, resources trying to teach kids who have mental health issues, behavioral issues, psychological issues, can't speak English, a word of English, or very poor English, and that holds back the rest of the classroom. And just keep, wash, rinse, repeat. Same thing, over and over and over. And this is happening in town after town, city after city, all over the country. But no, I'm the extremist. No, really, I'm the extremist. 617-266-6868. Dave in Vermont. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, bonjour, Monsieur Kuhner.
Bonjour, Dave, my French-Canadian friend.
Hey,
Dave, what do you make of all this?
On the first point, if I ever was an 11 or 12-year-old person and talked to my parents that way, it'd be on my record, my dental record. And the second point is, you're right about the addiction. It's become almost cocaine. Because when I was growing up, we had a vacuum tube capacitor, big console radio with phonograph. And we could listen to records, but there was a lot of shortwave radio that we listened to mostly. And then all of a sudden, the transistor radio came out, and we had this little pocket thing that would fit in our pocket like a deck of cards. Well, we could listen to AM radio. And man, that was addictive. And then all of a sudden, FM came out, and it was pure radio. And we could listen to that, and it was something that we had never been accustomed to, and it was something that we didn't have to inject into our system, but just turn it on. And we got it. We got the indoctrination. Started coming through. Started way back with radio.
Dave, that's interesting. I never looked at it that way, but that is very, very interesting. Look, I read about this, that in the 40s and 50s, again, this is 75 years ago, they called it the boob tube. That it was the introduction of mass television when TV was in almost every living room. And they were all coming out saying this is going to, eventually destroy Western civilization. And, these were very intelligent critics. And they said, well, why? Come on, what's the harm? People want to watch a little TV. And they're like, no, it's not going to be half an hour or an hour. They go, you watch. It's going to be 2 hours and then 3 hours and then 4 hours. And pretty soon, all you're going to do is have a population where they just watch TV for 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And apparently, I've been seeing these stunning statistics, whether it's computers, whether it's iPads, or whether it's television. The average American spends over 6 to 8 hours a day. Verna in Arlington. Thanks for holding, Verna, and welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. Jeff, it's great to be with you folks. I wanted to share some information that might be very important for some of the listeners, and I wish I had gotten on earlier. I know people that actually go to Catholic Mass at 9 a.m. and they're off the radio, stop listening. But what I wanted to, a couple of introduction first and then my basic point. This is very addictive. And as a lot of people out there probably know, there are 12-step recovery programs for every form of addiction. Primarily, people will know AA for alcohol, NA for narcotics, OA for food, Al-Anon for friends and family of people of addiction. And there's other many programs too, Workaholics Anonymous, and so on and so forth. there is, 5 years ago it was started, a specific 12-step recovery program for this specific addiction. It's called Media Addicts Anonymous. And literally that is the website to mediaaddictsanonymous.org. And it's for addictive compulsive use of all forms of media and technology. They're actually having their 5th anniversary big conference this fall, October 31st, in Washington, D.C. I actually know the 2 people that founded the program that started it as well. So all forms of addiction, of media, TV, cell phone, computer, TikTok, every form that you can imagine, all of the things that are part of technology and media addiction. So again, mediaaddictsanonymous.org. It's very powerful. It has spread like wildfire. It is among all adults and obviously the younger generation as well. And so I just really wanted to let people know, if people want to look it up, again, look it up, mediaaddictsanonymous.org. And it's 12-step recovery. As people know, 12-step recovery does not cost anything. It's not specific therapy or anything like that. It's a 12-step recovery support system for different focuses based on the principles of that started with Alcoholics Anonymous.
Verna, I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking, where do you stand on this issue of cell phones in schools? Do you think they should be banned?
They should be at least reduced. I would have to ask my daughter-in-law more. She's actually there up here visiting, and her kids have no problems, and they're in their teens. I would think it needs to be reduced, possibly banned to a certain extent where, if needed, but then obviously, basically stop, because it shouldn't. I'm against it 90%. Because I don't think it should get and interfere in people's lifestyles and their learning and their training. None of us had this. I was just talking with her about that. I forgot my cell phone at home last night, and it felt strange. But, yeah, I think the specific facts that it's getting this much involved in and interrupting people's learning and their ability to focus, I think is a huge thing. And so to 90%, I think it should be stopped.
Interesting. Verna, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. Mike, Charles in Wilmington. Thanks for holding, Charles, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I'll make it quick.
Yes.
Earlier caller said that she was 100% behind banning it, but then she said she loves your show because it makes you think. And I agreed with her because, as you said, you see both sides. So I'll make it quick. I'm a medical courier, and I go to a lot of bio places and sometimes some government places, and they block your cell phone. So a very simple thing that would cost nothing is it would, both sides would be happy with it. Your kid could have their phone in class, but they could only call you, the family, or have an emergency button, okay, or third, like option. And so that would solve your concern about, you want your kid to be able to call you, all right? And then it would also, solve the problem with people, because I 100% agree that kids are, not only kids, but everyone's addicted to it. And I don't know, I'll just say, if I had a cell phone when I was younger, I would have been like Einstein, because I would have cheated. I would have looked up on stuff. And, so, I mean, it's very simple. It would cost nothing. Your kids have the phone, they're in the school, and, the phone is, they put into place that, that they can call for emergency or, to police or to the family.
I love it. Charles, I love it. I really do. I love it. And I think you're right. Look, they do it in government buildings. They do it in all kinds of other buildings. So, they block access to the internet. They block access to all sorts of things. But if you need to make an emergency call, God forbid, there's a school shooting, I don't know, whatever, something is breaking out, you need to reach 911 or you need to reach your father or your mother, it's there. And I love it. I think it's a great compromise.